Hello and welcome to Ani's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. Seaview, Sinister Shadows. The Isle of Wight had always been a place of tranquil beauty to Holly Arnold. The rolling hills, pristine beaches, and picturesque villages offered a perfect escape from her demanding city life. When she booked a week's holiday in Seaview, a quaint seaside village on the island, she had no idea the peace she sought would turn into a chilling nightmare. Holly arrived in Seaview just before sunset. Her accommodation, an old Victorian guest house named Seafront Manor, stood at the edge of the cliff overlooking the restless waves. Its weathered exterior, adorned with peeling white paint and ivy creeping up the walls, had an eerie charm that made Holly's skin prickle, though she dismissed it as excitement. Mrs. Hargrove, the elderly innkeeper, greeted Holly warmly but with a strange urgency. It best to stay indoors after dark. Her voice was firm yet shaky, her eyes darting to the long shadows cast by the setting sun. Holly asked, half laughing. Mrs. Hargrove hesitated. The shadows here, they're not always as they seem. Just stay safe, dear. Thanks for the advice, she said. Her room was cozy but had an unsettling aura. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper depicting sailing ships, and a large bay window offered a stunning view of the sea. Yet, as night fell, the once inviting waves seemed to darken, their frothy crests curling like malevolent whispers. Their first encounter. Exhausted from her journey, Holly decided to explore the village the next day. That night, she settled into bed with a book, the rhythmic crash of waves lulling her into an uneasy sleep. A scraping sound jolted her awake in the dead of night. Heart-pounding, she sat up, straining her ears. There it was again, a slow, deliberate scrape, like nails dragging across wood. It seemed to come from outside. She peered through the bay window, her breath fogging the glass. The moon cast long shadows over the garden below, and for a moment she thought she saw a movement. A dark, humanoid shape flitted across the lawn, melding seamlessly into the night. She blinked, her pulse racing. It's just the wind, she whispered to herself, though deep down. The dark history. The next day, Holly ventured into the village, hoping daylight would dispel her unease. She strolled through cobblestone streets, past quaint shops and cheerful locals, until she found a small bookshop. The musty air and shelves brimming with forgotten tales felt oddly comforting. The shopkeeper, a wiry man with thick glasses, struck up a conversation. When Holly mentioned her stay at Seafront Manor, his expression darkened. "When you've seen them, haven't you?" Holly asked, taken aback. The shadows. Seaview has a dark history. During the Victorian era, a group of smugglers used the cliffs near Seafront Manor. They'd lure ships to crash on the rocks, then kill the survivors to keep their crime secret. The villagers who defied them, well, they were thrown into the sea. Some say their restless souls linger, trapped in shadows. But that's just a story, right? Stay long enough, and you'll find out. That night, Holly's fear mounted. As she lay in bed, the scratching sound returned, more insistent this time. Gathering her courage, she grabbed her phone and crept to the window. Turning on the flashlight, she shone it into the garden below. Her breath hitched. The beam illuminated three shadowy figures standing motionless on the lawn. They had no discernible features, just dark, humanoid silhouettes that seemed to absorb the light. One of them raised an arm, pointing directly at her. Holly stumbled back, her phone clattering to the floor. The shadows began to move, slithering unnaturally up the walls of the manor. She bolted to the door, yanking it open and running down the hallway. Mrs. Hargrove's warning echoed in her mind. Stay indoors after dark. The shadows seeped through cracks under doors and around corners, always just behind her. She dashed into the parlor, where an old mirror hung above the fireplace. The room's dim light flickered, and she caught a glimpse of her reflection and the shadowy figure standing right behind her. The final revelation. Holly screamed, spinning around, but the figure was gone. The air grew icy, and whispers filled the room, overlapping and incomprehensible. She clutched her head, sinking to her knees. Why me? A cold wind rustled the pages of an open book on the coffee table. Trembling, Holly approached and saw it was a journal. The name scrawled on the first page read asterisk asterisk Thomas Greaves asterisk asterisk the leader of the smugglers. Flipping through, she discovered entries describing their gruesome deeds and their eventual betrayal by one of their own. The final entry read, "The curse will bind us to this place until the debt is paid in blood." Holly realized with dawning horror that the shadows sought her as a vessel to break the curse. Her presence had awakened them, and now they wouldn't rest until they claimed her. They escaped. Summoning every ounce of courage, Holly grabbed the journal and ran to the cliffs. The wind howled, and the sea roared beneath her. The shadows pursued her, their formless bodies stretching and twisting, growing larger as they closed in. Standing at the edge, Holly shouted into the void, "Take this." She hurled the journal into the crashing waves below. The shadows froze, their forms flickering like dying flames. A deafening scream erupted, and they dissolved into the night, leaving only silence. Holly collapsed, trembling and gasping for air. When she returned to Seafront Manor, the oppressive atmosphere had lifted. By morning, it was as if the shadows had never existed, but Holly knew the truth and vowed never to return to Seaview. Yet, as she boarded the ferry back to the mainland, she couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes watching her, lingering just out of sight. Epilogue. Months later, Holly had returned to her life in the city. She rarely spoke of Seaview, but the experience had left her scarred in ways she couldn't fully articulate. Nightmares plagued her sleep, filled with dark shapes and the crash of distant waves. One stormy evening, as Holly flipped through a stack of mail, she froze. Among the letters was a small, water-damaged package with no return address. Inside was a single, sodden page. She recognized it instantly. It was from Thomas Greaves' journal. The words were smeared, but one phrase remained legible: "You can't outrun the shadows." As the lights in her apartment flickered, Holly realized her ordeal was far from over. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.